So the 5 key takeaways I took away from the start of the NBA season thus far is with the OKC Thunder, Josh Giddey must play point guard and SGA has to be more an off-ball player for the Thunder offense to be as effective as possible, because we saw in the early stages Josh Giddey looked a little bit lost out as an off-the-ball player. SGA looked really good, but I think you're more valuable having Josh Giddey with the ball in his hands, and that makes up for a lot more than what SGA can do on the ball than he can do off the ball. So I feel like that's the first key takeaway, and I think as it's progressed along, the offense looks a lot better now with that particular lineup combination with Josh Giddey as the point. Second one, the Milwaukee Bucks with Dame and Giannis are experiencing growing pains. Obviously, we've seen them take a couple of shock losses in the early part of the season, and they look a bit tentative. I think not being used to having another superstar alongside them is maybe taking a bit of getting used to, but I think that'll eventually start to turn around for him. But at the moment, it kind of looks a little bit off there. But in hindsight, the Boston Celtics look scary. Like that starting five combination of Jason Tatum, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Porzingis, and Drew Holiday as well looks absolutely scary. If one guy doesn't go off on any particular night, you have one of those other 4 guys that can get their own on any given night. And I think the way they've started the year, it's going to take a lot to beat them, I should say. So that's another key takeaway. Third one, the Wemby hype is legit, but Chet isn't too far behind. I mean, we saw the ups and downs with Wemby. When he first got into the league, in the summer league, people were immediately calling him a bust. He didn't look comfortable. But then as things went along, his debut didn't go to plan. But last night and even the game before that against the Phoenix Suns, to knock them off twice, a contending team, especially considering the San Antonio Spurs were in absolute no man's land last year. It's a great sign for them, and Wemby just looked absolutely dominant and unguardable yesterday, 38 and 10. So incredible. But Chet also putting up really great numbers, and he looks really comfortable out there. And this matchup and this battle over the years is going to be really exciting to watch. Who's the better player out of this, 7-foot class? And then the fourth takeaway, a healthy Zion Williamson is the key to the Pelicans' playoff run. So obviously we've seen them start the year at 4-1. It's an incredible start for the Pelicans, and a lot of that comes down to Zion being, out there and available night in, night out. He obviously rested the last game, but I think you need to do that, especially with a guy who hasn't played a lot of basketball over the last few seasons. But yeah, with him out there and, alongside Brandon Ingram when he will return, and CJ McCollum, when Trey Murphy returns, Herb Jones anchoring that defense, and then you still got contributions from Jonas Valanciunas and the bench. I think the Pelicans look really scary. And the last one, the Grizzlies are looking horrible without Ja Morant and the injuries that have decimated their roster. I mean, I can understand, they've still got really good players in their side, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., there are still legitimate star talents on that team, but for them to be 0-5 at the moment, and then I forgot to even add in Derrick Rose and Marcus Smart to that mix. So for them to be 0-5 with the roster that they do have, which isn't a terrible roster, I think really just shows how valuable Ja is to that franchise, and I guess they'll be really looking forward for him to come back after that 25-game suspension. So those are my 5 key takeaways, and there's a lot more to take away from the start of the season, but I thought those ones were really the ones that caught my eye the most.
Yeah, 100%. The Grizzlies one's really interesting. We were talking the other day about, should they almost tank this year with obviously Ja being out 25? Is that enough time for them to kind of make a playoff push? But if they were to get a Buzelis with a Ja or a Ron Holland, that could certainly be extremely scary for the future. The 5 key takeaways that I had, the first one, Scoot Henderson is clearly a work in progress. The guy, he started off his NBA career not so great. And as a closeted Blazers fan, I really want to root for this guy, but I mean, we've seen guys like Chauncey Billups do it before, where they have resurrected their early NBA careers, but he looks really bad, really, really, really bad. He's averaging 8 points, 4.5 assists, 4 turnovers a game. Obviously, he really struggled in that first game against the Clippers. He had 1 point, till the fourth quarter. The most he's kind of scored is 11, and for the amount of shot attempts, he isn't really cutting it. So Scoot, I wish him the best in his rookie year, but he doesn't look like he's kicked off his NBA career with a bit of a burst, that's for sure. My second key takeaway, Cam Thomas has emerged as a number one option for the Brooklyn Nets. I feel like a lot of people, they had expectations on Mikal Bridges to be that guy to average 28 like he did in that second half of the season last year. Well, Cam, he's proven that he honestly could be a 25-plus point per game scorer. Like he said, when he given the ball in his hands, he hits the toughest contested shots. He can score at the rim whenever he wants to. He's proven that. He's shooting like damn near 100% at the rim. Like, it's honestly crazy. And then my third key takeaway, Tyrese Maxey has emerged as an NBA star. And with the loss of James Harden, I feel like it's only going to go up. He's averaging like 30 plus. He's shown that he can be a co-star with Embiid. So that is certainly one to look out for. Fourth key takeaway, Brandon Miller thus far is the Hornets' best player. I really do think that. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he might be averaging the most points per game on that team off the bench efficiently, or at least for a rookie. Obviously, with LaMelo Ball struggling, I think Brandon Miller has been their best player. And then my fifth key takeaway, Jalen Duran is the closest thing to a young Dwight Howard that we've ever seen. The guy is an absolute freak. He went from averaging 9 points per game and like 7 to 8 rebounds to he's averaging like 15, 13 rebounds, like 2 blocks, 4 assists. He looks really, really good out there. So that is my fifth takeaway.
Yeah, it's funny how you're going back to that Scoot and Brandon Miller debate that we had obviously 4 or 5 months ago on the channel when the draft was looming. And, we were heavily backing Brandon Miller to be that number 2 pick. And obviously, me, I rate him super highly. And it just shows that pick so far it has been justified. Question marks about Michael Jordan, picking Brandon Miller at that slot. And, they were saying, no, it's going to be another bad pick. But I guess it's good that the last pick that he actually had in his tenure as the Hornets owner, he's actually turned out quite well thus far. And I still have hopes for Scoot. I still think he can be a great NBA player, don't get me wrong. And I think it's just going to take him some time to get adjusted to the speed of it. He's been asked to obviously have the point guard duties on a young team, which is always a tough task, especially when you're in your first season. But I think he'll definitely be better. We saw LaMelo Ball in his first game had 0 points on his debut. So I think what he's turned into now, we can definitely see Scoot have that similar kind of ascension. But right now, yeah, you're right, it has been a bit of a struggle. So we'll just have to wait and see how things play out. But really liking the looks of Brandon Miller thus far.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of BenchMob in collaboration with the NBA Store. When BenchMob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber. So just do all the things listed on the screen.